Okay, listen, I know it's technically summer and that means life is supposed to slow down, right? People are on vacation, the day is long, the vibe is chill. But let's be honest, that ain't the reality for most of us. If anything, it's busy in a different way. The kids are home, the garden is popping off, and the pantry's getting a workout. Not to mention, you have like 5 different things you could be canning by sundown. And the last thing, the very last thing any of us want to do is stand over a hot stove cooking like we're on some TV show. Oh, no, So today I've got something that's going to feel like a real summer miracle. I've pulled together a July meal sequence that is specifically designed to give you a break from overthinking dinner, but still keeps things healthy, feeds your family well, and minimizes the mess. Now this whole meal sequence is designed to take the headache out of figuring out what's for dinner. That's right, honey, I've already done the hard part. And I'm also giving you a grocery guide that lists everything that is in season and on sale in grocery stores right now. Because grocery stores follow pretty predictable sales cycles. So when you shop from this list, you're already saving money. The rest of the video is me walking you through every prep step so you're not winging it. Just saying, you should probably print out those recipe cards and keep them in your recipe box or binder. Now each recipe serves 2, and I did that intentionally so that you can either scale the recipe quantities up or down by a factor of 2. So, you know, if you needed to serve 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. But also know that this is not rigid, follow to the letter cooking. So what you see me making in this video isn't the recipe, but it is a variation of something that I've made before. And I am telling you that that is the beauty of this approach. It flexes with what you have on hand. And I'm gonna give you substitutions both throughout this video and in the recipe cards. I gotcha. We're gonna make one base recipe. One. And then roll it into 5 completely different meals. And trust me, they feel fresh, they're interesting, and satisfying. Let me be clear, we're talking about meals that are quick, fridge and pantry friendly, uses what's in season right now so that it's affordable and tastes like summer, and keeps you from turning your kitchen into a sauna. Sounds good? I know, but here's why it works so well. Reason 1 is that we're using seasonal produce. This time of year, there's so much produce that's not only at its absolute cheapest, but also its best taste. Corn is sweet, cucumbers are tasty, tomatoes are actually tomatoes. So we're gonna be leaning into all that's abundant, whether you're picking it out from your garden or getting it for cheap at the farmer's market or the grocery store. Now, reason number 2 is that the shopping list that I'm giving you pulls double duty, because I am not just feeding my family, I'm feeding my pantry. This is going to be the exact produce that I'm using for canning projects this week. So yes, you're gonna use a portion of it for your dinners. So truly, your only job is to watch this video and to think about the small tweaks and swaps that are gonna work for your family. But the rest is going towards things like salsa, corn relish, fermented cucumbers, or whatever your preservation goals are. So if you're already on my grocery guide list, this is already in your inbox. And I try to send that ahead of time so that you can either follow along with me or use it as your jumping off point to make your own adaptations. And reason number 3 is that you absolutely have flexibility. So if you're someone who likes this step by step or you like to riff, you're covered. So now that you know why this works, let's talk about how this works. And spoiler, it all starts in the fridge. Every time I share a fridge organization clip, someone always says, I want to use fridge bins, but they're just going to take up space in an already crowded fridge. And look, I get it, because that was me too. I too thought that fridge bins would add another layer of clutter, but here's the thing. They don't add clutter, they add clarity. You don't need to write your grocery list down 10 times. You just need to see it right there in front of you. Everything is going to be in one bin, so it's easy to grab after work. No scavenger hunt required. Because let's be honest, digging through the fridge at 5:30, trying to remember if that bag of greens is still good, or if somebody ate the last ripe avocado, that is the kind of nonsense that turns I'll make dinner into we're ordering pizza. But for the record, yes, there are still some chaotic zones in my fridge. I'm not perfect, but when it's time to cook, I don't want to be hunting and pecking like I'm trying to solve some mystery novel. But instead of filling the fridge with random bags of produce rolling around like tumbleweeds, I want to pull a bin, put it on the counter, get started, boom, done. Okay, so here's how we're gonna break it down. We are making a total of 5 different meals. So throughout a week, 2 of those nights can be leftovers. We're gonna use bin 1 for our base recipe and then the second recipe. And I just have little labels here. So this says meal prep 1. And I don't think I mentioned this, but the base recipe is a summer corn and black bean salad. And then in meal prep bin 2, we have our ingredients for meal 3, which is a smoky summer casserole. And then bin bin 3 is going to be where we keep the ingredients for meals 4 and 5. That is it. 3 bins, no chaos. So let's go ahead and prep everything, and I'm also gonna give you some storage tips. So first you're gonna need some sweet corn, and this is what I picked up as seconds at the farmer's market. Yeah, this entire box of organic corn was $10. And seconds just means that it's not pretty enough for them to sell at full price, but it is perfectly, like, it's ripe and ready to eat over the next couple of days. Listen, I'll take it because that is my way to affordably stock my pantry with the organic stuff, and because that is going to be more than enough than what I need for this week's recipes, I'm going to can the rest. Okay, side note, I don't know whether this is a sign of the times, but I remember growing up that we would intentionally, like, to check the corn, you would like peel it back a bit, right? To see like the color, make sure that the kernels are nice and like firm. And then in some grocery stores, if they were like extra courteous, there would even be a trash can there for you to kind of like husk your corn, and they would take it away. And now I think starting last summer, or maybe it was the summer before that, there are signs at the grocery store that are like, don't husk the corn, don't peel back, like that kind of thing. And I remember thinking like, well, when did this start? Because ideally when you're picking out the freshest corn, you want to go for bright green husks that have either golden brown silk on top. So if it's really pale or black, just skip it. But one thing now, well, at the farmer's market, they let me like peel it back. Like it's fine to do it there, but at other grocery stores, what I would then just start to do is that you can just feel the cob through the husk, and you want plump and even rows. So that's just a little hack. If you're also seeing those signs in your grocery stores, you can just kind of like squeeze and go. You're also going to want some cherry tomatoes. Now, this is a combination of tomatoes that I harvested from my garden this week. And then like my tomatoes are just starting to come in, especially with this heat wave that we're having. But then also some that I picked up from the grocery store. And you want your cherry tomatoes to be shiny and firm, but not hard. And definitely avoid any that look shriveled or split. And if your tomatoes are too firm, just let them ripen on the counter, not the fridge. You also want some cucumbers, and you want them to be crisp, not bendy. These are from Miss Fanny's garden. She is my neighbor a few doors down. And oh, if you see yellow spots, not on any of these, but if you see yellow spots on your cucumbers, do not get them. That means they're old. And also, if you're at the farmer's market and you see the bumpy heirloom kind, get them. They have way more flavor. You're also going to need a few red onions. Choose the ones that are tight-skinned and hard. No squish, no sprout. And here's a tip if you're sensitive to the sharpness. You can just roughly slice them and then soak them in cold water so that they mellow out before you add them to the base recipe. You're also going to need some bell peppers, and green are cheaper than red and yellow. And remember, when you're shopping for them, you want a glossy finish and firm skin. Wrinkles mean that they've been hanging around too long. That applies to peppers, not people. Now let me backtrack. While red and yellow peppers are more expensive, they are sweeter than green. So if you're really going for that contrast, yeah, fold in those colors. But this dish is going to be colorful enough. You're also going to need some lettuce. Romaine or leaf works best. So you are going to want to choose tight heads with crisp outer leaves and a very solid core. So if things look floppy or bruised, just pass. And once you're home, you're going to want to make sure that you store it in a damp towel. So I have 2 of these, but you can also just use like a linen cloth, and it's going to last way longer that way. So next up, you want some avocado. And for use within 2 days, you want to get ones that give a little when you press on them or near the stem. But as you can see, I have this one here that's really green. So if you need them to ripen faster, you can just store them in a paper bag with a banana, or just allow them to ripen on the counter for 2 to 3 days, which is what I'm going to do with this one. I'm just going to tuck it back there. But then I saw these on sale. They were 2 for $5, and it's the equivalent, it says here, of 4 ripe avocados, which I think is about right. So the ingredients, like, it actually does use like real avocados. The salt is not high in these at all. And it just has, you know, vinegar and lime juice concentrate, garlic and onion and jalapeno peppers. So I'm going to go ahead and try this. You're also going to need some carrots and or zucchini. Now, I pretty much always keep carrots on hand just because they last so long. And these are going in meal bin 3. Now don't worry about writing anything down if you're trying to keep track of what goes in which bin. It is all clearly laid out for you in that free printable guide. And your zucchini should feel solid with glossy skin. And you do want to store them loose, not bagged in the crisper. And then next up, you're going to need some spinach, which is what I have in here. As I mentioned, I only have like 2 of these. I guess I could get some more, but like, it's not that serious because I also am just like using what I have. But yeah, you want to get some spinach. And as a reminder, you want to go for like perky leaves and just avoid anything that's slimy. And this is truly what extends your fresh spinach for several days. So this was the last of the spinach that I harvested 3 days ago now. And well, you're going to see it later on, but like, it's still looking good, right? Like spinach is high in moisture, and so you don't want it to sweat in a plastic bag. You just want to make sure that you're changing out your cloth like every 2 to 3 days. And you could also use kale. Now, next up, you're going to need limes, and they actually go in every bin. Now, remember, the heavier the lime, the juicier it's going to be. And you want to look out for the ones with smooth, shiny skin, making sure that it's not shriveled. And then you can just go ahead and roll them on the counter before cutting just to get more juice out. You're also going to need some broth, which is a great way to get added protein. You can use chicken, ham, or vegetable broth. This is ham broth. Ta-da! We're in the basement now because I needed to come downstairs because the only pasta that I keep upstairs is what we use most often, which is either the keto pasta, so like the hearts of palm, or like regular spaghetti or fettuccine. So I will one day show you a pantry tour, but y'all know I live in a townhouse. And so my stock storage is very modular. So it's like a little bit's here, a little bit's upstairs, and a lot of it's in the basement, but here and there, whatever else. And so I have felt so blessed this year because I've been able to get like fancy pasta because I'm catching these like amazing sales. So like organic stuff. I will throw in some clips of things I've been able to find. Like this is a really nice brand. Oh, cavatappi pasta. I like that. Okay. All right. Yeah. I knew I had some. So yeah, we're going to get some shells. Okay, perfect. Shells. You're also going to want to add some cream cheese to meal bin 2. And you're also going to want to add some shredded cheese. Nope, I'm not going to tell you which type because whatever you have will work. Now in meal bin 3, you're also going to need like 2 to 3 eggs for a family of 4. And I am just setting these aside. We do have ample eggs, but again, I just like to grab my bins and have everything ready to go. You're also going to need some Greek yogurt. You're also going to need some barbecue sauce. And do you remember, maybe it was 2 months ago now, that I took y'all into Aldi and I showed you how like they had Primal Kitchen, which is a brand that I have only found out about within like this past year. And I just love that they know like what ingredients to use and then keep out like it's possible. I mean, they are pricey, and so when I find it on sale, I do want to stock up a bit. I'm glad I got it at Aldi when I did because I haven't seen it since that 1 week that I saw them there. So I'm just going to go ahead and try one of these. I love their dressings. I'm sure that I'm going to love the sauces as well. And if this is not enough, I'll just reach for some of the sauce, my home canned barbecue sauce that I already have in the pantry. All right, and then we're also going to need some quinoa, or I'm using quinoa, but you can also use, brown rice or whatever rice you prefer. And I'm just going to go ahead and measure out like a 1.5 cups. Okay, so as much as I like to keep things in my bins, when it's full, it's full. And so these are some ingredients. I am going to be adding beans. So I have black beans, which are some of my favorite, but I also love garbanzo beans and kidney beans. So we're going to I'm just going to leave them out here on the counter, okay? Because I need to like see them. That way, like I know that I'm working with them. So they go there. And then I am also going to go ahead, this is totally optional, and I'm going to add some capers. And capers are awesome because they're low in calories but rich in antioxidants like quercetin. And there's been studies showing that it's linked to improving your heart health and reducing inflammation by improving circulation. Now on their own, they have a flavor that you're not going to miss. But in our bean salad, oh my goodness, they're going to blend like right in. They're going to fit in. And then lastly, in meal bin 1, I tend to keep a variety of cheeses on hand. And so I do have some feta here and then some crumbled goat cheese. So we'll just tag that in. You're also going to need pita bread for meal 2. And I'll insert a clip. I just picked these up at Aldi. So they have a whole wheat and then like their regular white. And depending on when you want to eat this meal in the meal sequence, if it's going to be in the next day or two, you can absolutely leave them out on the counter or just leave them in the fridge. You're also going to need some breadcrumbs. Okay, friends, and just like that, we have touched every single ingredient that you are going to meal prep with this week. Well, nearly, right? Like you're going to need some seasonings, a little oil, maybe pluck some herbs from your garden. Now, I do want to point out that the routine that you see me following in terms of sorting things into different bins is what I do when I immediately come home from the grocery store. So I no longer just like put things in the fridge. No, I already have these baskets out and I'm sorting those things. And actually a smarter trick that I started to do. So I'm in Maryland where we have to pay for bags. And so I have a pretty large collection of insulated grocery bags. And so what I'll do even as I am shopping is I will put those little like insulated bags in my cart. And then I will sort those bags by like, okay, here's everything that's going to go in a meal bin. So I'm literally just trying to like transfer things. Like these bins are already on the counter when I get home. And so I'm just trying to, I don't like rummaging through my refrigerator. it's worse than like rummaging through like the sock drawer or like any other area of your home because anyways, so that's what you see me doing here. And so what we're actually going to go ahead and do next, which I typically do like the following day because I already have a meal, you know, that's ready to go, is then I will then do the prep for the week the following day. But we're going to do that now. All right, so let's get into the meal that is going to carry us all week long. I could eat this every day in July and not get tired of it. Now remember, this is our summer corn and black bean salad. It is fresh, it is flexible, and it's what every fridge needs during the summer. I mean, you just have all those flavors coming together. We're gonna have the sweet corn and then the crisp cucumbers and the juicy tomatoes, the garden herbs, and then a little bit of that tangy lime action. Oh, delish. Okay, so you need to grab a big old bowl and a cutting board. I'm just gonna grab these 2 bowls. Oh yeah, my colander for my beans. All right, let's start off with the beans. We're gonna rinse and drain them. Now, don't you toss this bean juice. This is not just starchy sludge. It's a secret thickener, binder, and flavor booster. So all this is just the cooked down starches from the beans, and it still has a bit of bean protein. And plus, I use chickpea, so there's also a little bit of aqua fiber in here. So you can think of this as bean stock, where you can add it to soups, chilies, or stews. And it also adds depth and texture to things like barbecue sauces or skillet gravies. And you can also use this as a binder for like veggie or meat patties or fritters. This absolutely adds moisture and helps everything to stick together without needing eggs or oil. But I actually will most often use this to just stir into like rice or quinoa as I'm cooking if I don't have or don't want to use my chicken or veggie broth. It adds really great flavor, especially with like your brown rice and bulgur when I have it. It also makes it creamy. And again, there's still protein in here, which most of us women are not getting enough of. So I'm storing this in the fridge. In go the beans. And next up, we're gonna grab the tomatoes. Get ready to slice these up. All right, let's go ahead and dump in the tomatoes. This dish is looking so colorful already. Oh, I just love that. All right, let's tackle these cucumbers. And I'm just saving these for my worm bin. And I love adding things like cucumbers and strawberries because it also hydrates the bin so you don't have to add, water. All right, let's add those cucumbers. Next up, let's dice up our onions, and I especially love the purple onions in this recipe. Now save those scraps for your veggie stock. So although they're gonna release that compound that makes you tear up, it's on a delayed kind of time scale. Like right now, my eyes are still good. But I'm also trying to move as fast as possible. And let's add the onions. All right, y'all, so these are capers, and I'm gonna toss in about half of this small bottle into our corn and bean salad. And not just for that salty pop, which is what they taste like, but because capers are actually one of the richest natural sources of quercetin. So yeah, quercetin is an antioxidant that supports inflammation balance, immune health, and even histamine regulation. Y'all, this is one of the supplements that people pay good money for in supplement form, but here it is right in a jar from the pantry, adding flavor and function. Oh, and get this. This is actually a flower bud. All right, so now we're gonna add our herbs and oil, which is going to bring this all together. And you can use dried, but since I have an abundance of herbs that are growing on my deck, let me go out there and do a harvest. All right, so y'all know that I have parsley galore out there, and I also grabbed some cilantro. And I just give these like a very rough chop. And yes, we eat the stems because they're tender and flavorful. This bowl is getting full, so I need to go ahead and start to mix this up. Ooh-wee! Oh, this looks gorgeous. I love creating these rainbow salads. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Cassandra, where's the corn? Now, you know there's a method to my madness, and I strategically saved it for last. Now, you just may be following this meal sequence, but I'm also canon. I mean, think about it. These meals aren't heating up my kitchen or burning through my energy. And that's intentional, right? So I still have energy to do some canning while also making meals. Oh, and my kitchen also isn't a mess. I mean, look, all we've been doing is just basically chopping. So yeah, so the sink, there's the colander and the bowl that we used. And then I've been rinsing off my cutting board. Here's the bowl here. This is the second bowl that I told you to grab for the corn. And then this is just for my, I'm setting my camera on there. This is our meal prep bin. So everything is nice and neat after we finish using it. And, oh yeah, this is just my scrap bag. So this is the other side of my counter where I already have my clean and sterilized jars with a towel. And then this is my canning caddy. So y'all, I'm set up and ready to can. Now, I went over my canning systems in detail a couple of weeks ago. And I used the word systems, but there's nothing that you need to buy. It's more about thinking about how to zone your kitchen, how I'm strategically able to both cook and can, mindset, some other hacks that I wish I would have known or things that I did well before I started canning. And I really think, well, the feedback that I'm getting from that video is that it finally is clicking for a lot of people. It feels doable because canning totally is, but there's more things that you have to think about. I think the obstacle with canning isn't the procedural part of canning, right? Because the canner is doing most of the work. It's folding it into a real life. So check that video out. So yes, right now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to shuck a couple of ears of corn to add to our bean salad. But then anything beyond that, which I will have plenty of corn left over, I am going to be canning. And then I also just got a lot of clearance meat on sale that I also need to pressure can. Now I've shown how I process corn, which is one of my favorite vegetables, but I am actually saving the silks to make a tincture. I am saving the husks. I dehydrate them to use as kindling. And then I also roast the actual cobs after the kernels are removed because you can make corn cob stock, which is delicious. And I'm even going to make corn cob jelly. And yup, that's how you get your money's worth. I just found this little fun guy at Walmart last summer. All right, grab your scrap bag. And then we're just gonna have these flavors infuse into our stock. And you really wanna, we're gonna roast the cobs to bring out that caramelized flavor. I am telling you, there is nothing like the taste of fresh summer corn, y'all. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. All right, let me mix this. So now we're gonna add our extra virgin olive oil, which is a healthy fat, just enough to kind of smooth everything together. Give it a little glossy shine. Now we're gonna make this salad sing with the juice of 2 limes. And now here's where you just want to play it up with whatever spices you have on hand. So you could add a little cumin for warmth, which I've absolutely done before, but I'm going to skip that for now. And I'm going to actually add some, surprise, surprise, smoked paprika, just to give it that hint of grilled flavored, even if you didn't grill anything. And then next, I'm going to add a little pepper to taste. Now, if you didn't use the capers, which, as I mentioned before, are salty, go ahead and absolutely add salt to this. But those capers, yeah, that's exactly what they taste like, a blast of salt. And so I don't need to add any of that to this. Let's go ahead and scoop some of this into a bowl. Now to take this into full meal territory, we're gonna add some diced avocado. And then we're also gonna add in some of our crumbled feta, but I usually hold off and add those ingredients when I'm actually like serving the meal so that they don't get mushy or just disappear into the larger mix. And then yeah, a little hack you can do is just like, oh, sorry, let me show you. A little hack you can do is just like slice the avocado inside of the peel. And then when you squeeze it out, I mean, it's not going to be like perfect, but it's close enough. All right. Yeah. Isn't that cool? And next up, we're going to add some of our crumbled feta or whatever cheese you prefer. Oh my goodness, this looks so good. And of course, you can go ahead at this point and add in some like canned chicken or tuna. But this is exactly the kind of meal, or like nuts if you want like extra, you know, crunch. But this is exactly the type of meal that we are in the 3rd day, I think, of a heat wave. Pretty much the whole country is. And so I'm not trying to have something that's like super heavy. But this meal comes together fast. And as I said, this is our base recipe that we're going to keep giving a wardrobe change for the next couple of days. But so much flavor. Yeah, it's everything you want. It's creamy from the beans, which also add this savoriness. And then you got the crumbled cheese and the avocado there that's giving it more texture. The sweetness from the corn, the ripe tomato taste, the burst of the onion flavor that's in there. Oh, this is just so good. And then that lime juice and the saltiness there. You know, this is not lacking in flavor at all. Now, I highly recommend that you do like me and keep the feta and the avocado out just because it will last longer in your refrigerator. Like this will last up to like 6 days in your refrigerator if you keep, you know, that other stuff out. Now, a food storage container that I use a lot in the fridge are these half-gallon jars. And I really like these because they are so versatile. So I can put my broths in here, milk, any beverages that I'm making, my tea infusions in here, and then I just have these like caps that fit right on them, whether it's a regular lid or like the pour spout. And then even also, like for example, because I have a combination of these, yeah, you can see them, of these reusable plastic bags, but I don't have enough for like everything all the time, nor do I need to have that many things, right? But I have those, of course I have my casserole dishes, and then I have these jars just because I get so much utility out of them. So I am actually going to store everything in here. Because they're tall, they don't take up as much space like in my refrigerator. And I'll put anything in here. I'll have spaghetti in here, you know, casseroles, whatever. So, and I love just being able to see, you know, how much of whatever I have on hand. And it's easy storing. So I'm going to use this to set aside more of our base. Now, I make no secret that yes, I love to cook, but it is not an all-day event. So when I'm in the kitchen, I try to be as dangerous as possible. And for those of y'all that join me for these monthly pantry chats, well, you know that at this point in the game, I'm already thinking about breakfast. There was a little sale on bacon the other day when I stopped by the commissary. So I have this pack here. And what I'm going to do is make some type of, I don't know, do you call it a frittata? But here's how it's going to go. I'm going to lay down these strips of bacon, put it in the oven since I already have that on, roasting the corn cobs. I'm going to cook it just a little bit, and then I'm going to scoop a nice layer of our corn cob salad over top, and then pour over a few eggs that I'm going to mix in with some meat. And so I'm going to have this delicious, like, omelet kind of pie with bacon on the bottom. Come on now. That's the best of both worlds. And into the oven we go. See, that base is already working hard for us, and it was super simple to make. Just a little chopping, mixing, and boom, you're done. Plus, it's colorful, nutrient-dense, packed with fiber, and it feels like summer in every bite. Now, don't clean up too much because we're rolling into the next meal. It's so easy because we're making garden pitas, which is basically a glorified lazy taco. Oh, I mean that in the best way possible. So all you do is take your corn and black bean salad and add a protein if you like. We're going to stuff that into a pita, or you can use some flatbread and then just add some cool creamy toppings. Now, I hadn't planned on adding a meat-based protein to this meal, but y'all, this is the time of year, and I shared with you, so like during the summer, you're going to start to see meats that are marked down because stores just have more inventory between like the holidays and people just like to grill more during the summer. And so literally on my way home from work, I will just take different paths where I hit different grocery stores and specifically look for their reduced for quick sale meat. And y'all, this week I hit the jackpot. Hold on. It's so much. So I've got this, and this, and this. Yeah, the prices are just insane. So I found these ribeye steak strips that were marked down to $4.99. So it's not enough for me to can, and I don't want to take up freezer space. So I'm just going to go ahead and since we just need like a small amount of meat, this will be perfect for this dish. So I'm going to cook this up right now. And then I also have, look y'all, these patties that were already fully cooked. These are the smashed beef burgers. You get 6 of them for $7. The chicken breasts. So all I have to do is just cut these up, put them in jars and can them. $4 for this pack. $4.07 for this pack. $3.35 for these 4 drumsticks. I mean, and this is all chicken breast, the chicken tenders. And you know what? I really do think that in the time that it is going to take me to brown this meat, I could probably can up a lot of that chicken. Ooh, all right. That was impressive because this is a heavy pan, y'all. Okay. Let's scoop our veggies on top. Crack a few eggs. And we're going to stop at 4. And then we're going to hit them with some milk. This was the top I was telling y'all about. Toss in a handful of cheese. Pour this over top. Perfect. This is ready to be popped back into the oven. Pan for the meat. All right, let me do this on low. Add the meat. Don't toss these out. These are going to be great seed starting trays, so I'm just going to go ahead and add them to my hot soapy water to clean. Let's get to cutting. You're looking for uniformity in your cutting pieces, not more than 1 inch thick. It doesn't have to be perfect, but again, you don't want to rush. The density of each piece of meat needs to be the same so that everything cooks evenly. All right, meat's looking good. All right, y'all, our meat is smelling good, so I'm gonna add some chili flakes. A little bit of garlic powder, cayenne. Yeah, we're going for spicy. And some smoked pepper. Okay, I cut the meat on the heat, and it probably just needs another minute or two for those flavors to meld, which gives me just enough time to go ahead and add our diced chicken to the jars. Okay, y'all, so all of that chicken was 6 quarts. I had brought up 7 quarts. No, it is 7. Okay, I brought up 8. Oh, praise the Lord. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the meat off the stove, and then I'll come back and debubble my jars, lit them up, and put them in the canner. All right, now I also cut the oven off because both our egg mixture and the corn husks are finished. Oh my goodness. Look at this. I know, Thor. I know. Mama's getting excited. Now, this is the kind of breakfast you think has to wait for a Saturday or Sunday morning, but no, this is going to be on a Tuesday. Okay, and since this needs to cool, I'm just going to set it over here on a towel. And then the same with our corn cobs. Y'all, this kitchen smells amazing. Oh. Now, I've been storing my pitas in the refrigerator, so they're a little firm, but since I just cut the oven off, I'm going to use some of that warm heat and just place them right on the rack so that they can warm up a bit. All right, and these are pitas. And 7. Perfect. Okay, friends, battle station check. So over here, the canning area is not too chaotic. This caddy's just gonna go back in the cupboard. This jar will probably stay up here because I'll just be bringing up more jars as I can. This is what the sink is looking like. Again, we have a sink full of hot water. And if you are noticing, I don't have a lot of dishes in here because I will just wash and reuse it again. Wash and reuse again, right? Like each thing doesn't always need a separate bowl. And I like just tempering myself like that. So I have my cutting board out here that I have repeatedly been washing. Again, this is just out because that's what my camera's standing on. I have this bag out because even though I try to remember to put like my sharp knives that I've used here and not in the sink, I just don't. I wash like my bag separately because I don't want them to be punctured. I mean, they're sturdy. It's just a good habit. And then I just grabbed this out and then our meat. So again, none of this is crazy, y'all. None of this is crazy. And we still got the food over there cooling down. Let me tell you, this is so good. Look, you can see I already took a little bite. And my little sous chef, Mr. Thor, agrees too. Oh my goodness. Y'all, this is delicious. Sorry, I have you in a dark corner there. But one, it's so impressive that we've packed all this nutrition, right? That didn't take us like extra chopping or dicing or anything like that. The bacon on the bottom of this is baconing all the way through. And then you have the addition of the cheese and the eggs that are in here. So later on, I think what I'm going to do is I will probably, because this is going to be breakfast, well, part of the breakfast this week. It's always, I make something like this and during the work week, oatmeal. And so I do have some sweet potatoes. So I'll probably just dice some of those and then maybe put like the diced sweet potatoes and then this over top. Oh, this is so good. Okay, so I just need to grab our base out of the fridge. I obviously put it in there so it would stay cool. Now I would say the thing about this mix is that whenever you go to use it, just go ahead and give it a good stir just to redistribute the dressing and the flavors. Okay, so at this point, you're gonna wanna chop up a little bit of lettuce or your spinach, and then we'll also slice the avocado. Okay, now Greek yogurt is going to be our creamy finish. But absolutely, of course, you can use sour cream, and if you've got feta or hummus on hand, now is the time to pull that out as well. So I'm just gonna plop some of this down to put in the center of the table. And that meat looks good. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and grab our pitas out of the slightly warmed oven And you can just toss them like on a skillet, like each side for like a minute or two if you also like them warm. Okay, let's go ahead and cut these in half. All right, it's build time, and I like to do things in this order. So first, I'm just gonna do a little bit of Greek yogurt or the hummus if that's what you're using. And then I'll add in a little handful of greens. And then to this, a scoop of our salad. And then we're gonna add some of the beef. What a little treat. Again, I wasn't even expecting this. And then some of the diced avocado over top. And then you can just squeeze a little lime over top. And then if you're anything like my husband, you're gonna hit this with some sriracha. Although I did amp up the spices on that beef. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just add a little bit of the sriracha to the sour cream or the yogurt. All right, friends, so this is what you'll be taking to the table. Honestly, it is beautiful. It's also maybe a little messy, but it's so good. And every person can make this exactly how they like, which means that there are going to be no complaints at dinner, and that is a summer win. Now, obviously, to make this vegetarian, you'll just skip the meat, and you can either add extra avocado or feta because the beans and the corn are already packed with protein. And if you want a low-carb option, you can just use lettuce wraps with romaine leaves. It's still delicious and extremely hydrating. And if you have a sauce guy or gal at home, you can just take the filling and then add extra sour cream or the Greek yogurt and your favorite barbecue sauce. Mix everything all together and you're gonna have this decadent, creamy, extra explosion of flavor that they'll love. But friends, this is meal 2, and by the time you get here, your fridge is clean, your kitchen is cool, and no one is asking you what's for dinner. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take this to the table because this is what we're eating tonight, and when I come back, I'm gonna show you how easy it is to turn this into a casserole. And I'm bringing all the summer vibes with that one. Oops, the yogurt. If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingafarmgirl.com, and I'm here to help you cook with what's on sale and season, and better yet, already on your shelf. And if you're not already on my email list but you want to grab this meal sequence, click on the QR code or the pinned comment in the description box or the link below. And that's going to set you up to get one meal sequence every month. Go ahead and grab meal bin 2. Okay, so if you're starting to notice that I have shifty eyes, it's just because I'm very close to 10 pounds of pressure. I'm probably at like 7, so that's all that's going on. Okay, friends, so with our same corn and black bean salad, we are going to turn this into a smoky pasta casserole that tastes like comfort food, but still eats like the summer. And this is the kind of dish that's gonna have your people saying, wait, that came from this salad? And you're gonna say, yes. Yes, it did. Hold on, my thought is here. Let me go ahead and just say it. So with this meal sequence, I want to be clear that you can go ahead and actually cook these night by night. They're not going to take you any more than like 15 minutes of hands-on prep time. But you can do like I'm doing, which I haven't shown this before in previous videos because now I'm at the intensity of canning. And so I'm going to blast through the majority of my meals for the week and just have dinner ready to go, because this full meal sequence from start to finish, it's going to take you under 2 hours, right? And so if I get my meals figured out, that means that the space that I have for the rest of the week is going to be used for canning projects. All right, we're getting close. We're almost there. So yes, per usual, before I left for dinner, I put this pot of water on the stove, and then you're just going to take some salt and season it like the ocean. And then we're going to go ahead and just add our pasta. I need you to get your blender. So we're turning this into a sauce, which is going to be wildly satisfying. Let me show you how to do it. Oh, good, I'm at 10. Okay. Perfect, perfect. Let me just lower this a little bit more. 90 minutes. It's go time, baby. Okay, so you're going to add a couple of cups of your base to the blender. I also recommend spooning in some garlic. Totally optional, but if you want it to be richer, you can add a pat of butter. Grab your broth, and let's go ahead and open this up. Oh yeah, the sound of freshness. Oh my goodness, this is so aromatic. I just love canning my own homemade broths. Because I am eyeballing this, which is fine because I know what texture I'm going for, it's kind of a play between like how much of this you used and like how thick or thin you want your sauce to be in combination with the cream cheese. So I'm likely going to use all of this. And then let's add our cream cheese. And I'm basically going to start off by adding like 3/4 of this block. Whoops. All right. That in there. I mean, y'all, already this smells amazing. So what we're going to do is just blend it until it's smooth. And it's going to turn this beautiful like golden orange color with flecks of herbs and beans. And like this smells amazing already. Plug this in. Okay, we have done it, y'all. Look at this sauce. So I like this texture over the noodles. It's going to be great. If you wanted it thicker, you could add a little bit more cream cheese. Hold on, can you like actually really see this? Okay. Yeah, but I think that this is perfect for the sauce. I think this is perfect for the sauce. And again, there's so much flavor in here, right? We already have fresh herbs and onions and garlic and tomatoes and all the things. You're not gonna find a sauce healthier than this. And so what I'm actually gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna use this as an opportunity, those of y'all know, to just sneak in some supplements. And I say like sneak in, but really like nothing like nefarious about that is going on. But like I am not going to find, yes, I will do like an occasional smoothie and everything else, but that just seems like apart from what we usually eat. Like I'm gonna fold this into food that I'm already making, that we're already eating. So I'm just gonna sprinkle in some nutritional yeast here. That's probably like 1.5 tablespoons. And then, because nutritional yeast has a really good cheesy flavor that's going to complement this dish. And then I'm trying to use up, I put most of my nettle in an airproof jar, but I left this out because there's so little left that I know that I can get through this over the next week or two. I'm just going to add some nettles to this. Yeah, just like that much. And then blend it up again. Okay, like I said, I keep just looking to make sure my pressure's doing good, and it is. Okay, so to this, some of the things that you might want to add would be just like a pinch more of salt if that's what you're looking for, or any particular spices. And so I am actually going to add some of my backyard blend. So this is an herb salt that I made from all of the herbs that I need to harvest every couple of days from my garden. And so just showing y'all like, yes, I thoroughly enjoy having, oh, that looks so pretty. Take a look. Ah, like I feel like a little chef. I really do. And so yeah, I use the things that I make from my garden. It's just, it is the best feeling, and that's what keeps me gardening just season after season. And so like this blend is potent. And then I think I'm gonna add some chipotle seasoning to this. Okay, so the pasta's done, so let's just go ahead and drain it. And then go ahead and grab your spinach, or if you're using kale. And yeah, you can absolutely saute it at this point, but I find it's really not necessary because it's just gonna like wilt really nicely in the pasta. Look how beautiful my spinach still looks, just because it's wrapped in linen, which is constantly just absorbing that excess moisture. Y'all, I'm telling you, get on this. Yeah, I'm gonna add all this. Oops, let me move you up. So I am going to add all of this spinach because spinach wilts, and so it's gonna cook down. See, now I told you that this was gonna feel like a whole new dish. Go ahead and pour our sauce in. Oh, oh my goodness. That sauce is beautiful. You don't have to tell me, I already know. Oh, yes. mean, how much are you paying for something like this at a restaurant, y'all? We made this at home with pantry staples and what's growing in the garden. Doesn't get any better than that. So right now, there may be some of y'all thinking, hold up, like, this is done. This is dinner. Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Put this on a plate and your crowd will be satisfied. However, I'm going to show you where you can take it. So what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle this with a layer of cheese, and then I'm just going to pop it in the oven. Another thing that I've used with this is if you have crackers, you can like crush some and put them over top, or like panko and do that. I mean, whatever kind of toppings that you want. But yeah, I'm gonna make this a full-on casserole. All right, let's put this in the oven, not more than 20 minutes. So in terms of tips for this recipe, I would say that I highly recommend using cast iron so that you can take it from the stove top to the oven just like I did. And you can totally make this dairy-free by substituting the cream cheese with coconut milk and nutritional yeast. And this would absolutely be a great dish to add in zucchini or any leftover chicken or other meat that you have on hand. And if you're someone like me who has the wonderful problem of having all of these herbs, I'm telling you, this sauce can handle it. And also, this dish freezes wonderfully. It gets even better the next day. I'm telling you, you will never look at summer corn and black bean salad the same. Now, darling, you know I just can't sit here and twiddle my thumbs while I have the canner going and we're waiting for this to bake. So we're rolling into meal 4. I need you to go ahead and grab meal bin 3. Now, we've already got the oven on, and since I like to multitask, that's why this next recipe is going to be perfect. We're going to use our same base to make savory veggie patties that we bake in the oven. So they're going to be crisp on the outside and flavorful and soft on the inside. And if you want to, you could tuck a block of like the small little cubes of cheese in the center. And then we are also going to make a zesty lime sauce that is loaded with herbs. And so, I mean, we have it all. So let's start by making the bean cakes. Let me get my glass bowl. And you're going to need a bowl. Okay, so I'm using my little ice cream scoop. It works, okay? You don't need to have like every tool to do everything. But you just want to make sure, especially if you added like, you know, lots of oil, or maybe as your vegetables, as this sits and it begins to like release more liquid, that you don't want all that liquid that's in there. So just kind of try to keep it dry. So that's why you just see me doing this old trick. Okay, so now, friends, we are going to, yeah, here it is. We are going to grate our zucchini right into this bowl. And this zucchini is going to add moisture and bulk. The same thing for when we go to add the carrot. Ah, yes, beautiful. And now we're going to go ahead and add in a carrot. Gracious, y'all, it's time to get our casserole out of the oven. That 20 minutes went by fast. All right. And we're going to let her cool right here. Okay, so we're just going to mix all this together. And then we're going to add our breadcrumbs to the mix. And then you can also toss in an egg or two. You're going by consistency and look and feel. You just want things to start being able to hold together. Now, earlier, I was very generous in my egg allowance for the week. I mean, there's no such thing, but you know what I mean. And so for this recipe, you don't need to use an egg. The egg flavor is not coming through. It is just a binder. So I hope you saved your bean juice. Exactly. I am not playing games. All right. Definitely gonna need almost all of this. All right, now let's go ahead and add some of our bean broth. Just a bit, little by little. See how thick that is? Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more. This looks like a beautiful coleslaw, doesn't it? Okay. Now in a minute, I may just go ahead and use my hands. I wash my hands frequently as I am cooking. And your hands are a kitchen tool, y'all. I think sometimes we forget about that. Truly, they're your best ones. Okay, so at this point, I am going to go ahead and add some seasonings. And you want to be pretty generous with this because, so like, come on, cumin. You want to be pretty generous with this because you want these flavorful before you bake them. And so I'm going with some, the cumin, the smoked paprika, and then also adding in some garlic powder. And remember, because I'm not adding egg, you can go ahead and just taste this. Okay, y'all, so I told you that I was gonna have to go hands mode, especially if you're not using an egg. Like, that's just the feedback that I need in terms of, you know, going back and forth between this and my breadcrumbs. And so at this point, if you want to level this up, you can press a cube of cheese like into the middle. I've done that before, but I don't have the cubes, which makes it super easy. I do have some feta. Anyways, I'm not doing all that today, but you can absolutely do that. But you're just going to take your mixture, and before I put my hand in, so this is like my one clean hand, I have my baking sheet that I lined with parchment paper, not parchment paper, my reusable silicone sheet that's here. And so you're just gonna, you know, take your mixture and shape it into a little patty. This kind of reminds me of like the risotto balls that my husband and I love. So I'm gonna shape it like this, and then I'll press them down at the very end. All right, so I've got that. And then actually with my meals that I'm making for next week, I'm doing something very similar. And so sometimes my fridge bins kind of essentially stay the same. And if I have ingredients that I didn't use, like I have way more, again, this is my clean hand that I'm not touching the food with, but I have way more zucchini and carrots than I'm going to use like for right now. But however, my zucchini and carrots, those ingredients are going to be fine. This entire bin, because I have couscous, but we are going to use this, and then the eggs are still there. Oh, so I could have used eggs. Anyways, I forgot I like even did that. But it's really nice because you can just like leave this as is and put this on repeat, y'all. So for the month of July, I have this, and I have a couple other meal sequence-ish things combined with my muffin meals that I showed you all how to make in my canning video. And that's how cooking during the summer just stays light and fun and stress-free so that I can focus on the canning. These look so amazing, right? Like, oh my goodness. I'll do a close-up when I'm finished. All right, again, clean hands, and I'm just gonna go ahead and mash these down. Okay, so now you just want to brush the tops of these with a little bit of olive oil, but I'm using my homemade chive oil. Yes, it's just olive oil that I infused with chives that are growing out back in the garden. So that will likely be more than enough. And then, yeah, we're just going to take this. Oh, and it's going to just infuse such a complimentary flavor that's better than just olive oil. I mean, this is how my cooking starts to become so flavorful. Just little hacks like that. Bringing the herbs in, allowing them to just seep in some olive oil for a couple of days, straining it, voila. I have it at the ready for meals like this. Oh, it's just awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna bake these in the oven for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees. Okay, so to create our herb dip, we're actually going to use fresh herbs, which are so potent. And basil works wonderful in this recipe. So I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest some fresh here. And this will be awesome if I combine it with some mint. Is this my regular mint? Oh yeah, this is my spearmint. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. Let's do some thyme. And you know what? I think lemon balm will also do pretty well in this. Yeah. Thor, you coming in? Oh my gosh. It is, oh. Don't worry, y'all. I'm keeping an eye on Mr. Thor. I can see him. He's actually on the cushions. I'm telling you, he's a grown man. He loves being out here on the cushions. And he's absolutely fine. I mean, I don't let him out here when it's hot like this more than like 7 to 10 minutes max. And then he also knows that he has his water fountain here. Yeah, so Thor will just go from the cushions and then he'll sit on the recliner. And then, unlike my husband, who's like, oh, what you cooking when I've just only like sauteed onions and garlic, Thor will come in the kitchen exactly when the meat's done. Okay, so we have our fresh herbs, and this morning when I watered the garden, everything got a really good rinse. So we're just gonna go ahead and get ready to fold these into our herb sauce. All right, so now grab your Greek yogurt. Oh, hold on, Thor's ready to come in. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and put a couple of tablespoons of our yogurt over top of the fresh herbs. Combine that. Oh my goodness. And then next we're gonna hit this with a bit of salt, and you have a dip that you're gonna wanna put on everything. Okay, and so I just wanna point out that I only have 3 of these containers, which is actually more than enough because after I finished using this for the breadcrumbs, I just put it in my sink full of hot water, gave it a quick wash and dry, and then I'm using this now for the dip. Now you can serve these patties a couple of ways. You can pair them with a side salad or slide them in between buns like a burger, or just put them on a plate with a drizzle of yogurt dip, which is what I'm gonna do. They reheat really good, and then you can even just like take the patties and crumble them over top of a salad. Yeah. Well, we've still got about 10 minutes left on the patties, which means we can make meal 5. Go ahead and grab a pot, turn your burner on, and I'm gonna go ahead and heat the rest of my stock. That's gonna infuse so much flavor. Goodness, y'all, we almost forgot to do a taste test of our baked casserole. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and take the smallest amount here. You already know that this is delicious. So we just have our spinach here. It's already chocked full of so many vegetables too. And so when I tell you that this is just creamy and cheesy and so flavorful. Yeah, y'all, like half the work of this casserole was the base recipe that we made from day one. It's so good. It's so good. I didn't have to work hard at all for that casserole. Oh my. Again, you can either leave it as like the pasta sauce or you can go ahead and bake it. It's a win-win either way. And man, this is good. I can't wait till you get to this one. Let's go ahead and pour in the quinoa. All right, y'all, the cakes are finished. I'm gonna lay them on the counter to cool. Now, if you're using bell peppers like I am, just go ahead and cut the tops off, but save these because then you can go ahead and, like I already did here, dice up after you remove the stem. You can dice this up and add this to your bean salad. And if you're using tomatoes, you're just gonna slice the top off and then gently scoop out the core and the seeds and flip them over to drain for a couple of minutes, you know, so they're not watery. Anywho, you're just gonna go ahead and add them to a pan. Okay, y'all, so the couscous isn't finished yet, so I'm gonna set this aside because I plated up our patties. Look at them. Aren't they gorgeous? Now, any other week, hubby and I would be out on the front porch and the rockers are out back eating at the deck table, but it is just, that humidity is no joke. And so what I normally would do is just, again, sit this in the middle of the table. Hold on. Let's make it look right. Oh, yes! Again, this is still the base meal. And so all you do is you take one of your patties and then you just dollop it with your flavorful sauce. Now, I'm going to try to be polite, but if I was at the table, I would just stuff this whole thing in my mouth. Do you hear that crunch? There's flavor not only from the patty, but also this sauce and the fresh herbs. All right, y'all, the quinoa is finished and it's so flavorful. And to this, we're gonna add the leftover of the cream cheese that we didn't need from the previous recipe. And then, y'all, we're at the very tail end, which is what we want, of our base recipe. So we're gonna fold that in. Let's go ahead and stir that. Again, y'all, this is an excellent time to go ahead and add fresh herbs. So I still have this parsley that I want to use. So I'm going to amp up the flavor even more by adding that. Now, next up, you're going to go ahead and add some of your favorite barbecue sauce. And again, I am just giving this a try. You don't need much because there's already a lot of flavor going on in here. And so just stir this around. And then you actually do want to go ahead and give this a taste test and see what you need to amp up in terms of your spices or your herbs, or if you need to add any more barbecue sauce. That's just right. I don't need to add a thing, but I did just have a little bit more of my broth left. I just added like a little bit of water in here. I'm going to splash that in there just so I use every drop. And now, don't be shy. You're going to spoon this into your veggie boats. Oh, this is going to be so good. Okay, so yes, you can absolutely at this stage sprinkle cheese on top. I really don't think that they need it because this is so creamy and decadent. So I'm just going to go ahead and add cheese to the back too. And then we're going to pop these in the oven to bake at 375 for about 25-ish minutes. You just pretty much want like the tops to be golden brown. All right, the pepper boats are ready. Okay, so this is the one without cheese. And with cheese if you want to be a little decadent. Oh, a little note that I wanted to add is that you can actually prep these ahead. You didn't have to bake them, so you could just stuff the peppers like unbaked and keep them in the refrigerator, and they'll stay excellent for at least 1 to maybe up to 48 hours. All right, y'all, and that's meal 5, our stuffed veggie bake. And all of our meals have been packed with everything that your body needs this time of year. Fiber, hydration, good fats, bright flavor. And let's not forget, you only cooked 1 core recipe at the beginning of the week or day. And yet here we are, 5 meals later, still going strong. So if you like this meal sequence, give it a like and let me know which meal sequence you're gonna try first. And don't forget to go to my grocery guide email list so that you can run this meal sequence in your home. Now, even though I am absolutely stuffed, I will take a bite so that you know how delicious these are. Well, first you're gonna have like the tender pepper. It's just so good. It's this creamy sauce that is infused with whatever barbecue flavor that you enjoy. So I do like that Korean, what is this? Yeah, a Korean barbecue style. This is good. It's really good. And plus, like, the ingredients are just good, right? Because a lot of your barbecue sauces, as well as your salad dressings, they're just filled with seed oils, high fructose corn syrup. I mean, it's just stuff that you just don't want in there. And so I really enjoy that. I mean, it's just like all of the tastes of like the garden are in here. This is fresh. It's flavorful. I really like the addition of using quinoa in here. And of course, I made these vegetarian, but you can also have like added in like chicken or beef or whatever you have on hand. On a regular weekday dinner night, 2 would absolutely fill me up. And just like that, the canned chicken is ready. You know this kitchen smells amazing. Anytime I can chicken, oh my goodness. And actually, ooh, this reminds me of a question that I got from a video where somebody wanted to know if canned chicken was still safe to eat if the broth doesn't fully cover over the chicken. It sure as heck is. The broth is there for flavor, not preservation. The safety of canned chicken is coming from high heat and pressure during processing, not from submerging under a broth. And that's why dicing up your meat into small, relatively uniform pieces is so critical. Because then the heat is going to penetrate the jar, including any air pockets, and that's gonna kill like the botulism spores. And that means that both this chicken down here and up here were still processed above 240 degrees for your 75 if you're using pints, or for this size jar, 90 minutes. So as we're tracking safety, have that broth question take a back seat and instead ask this: did the jar seal properly? And the answer to that is you want to make sure that you have a jar that has like this sound, and then you can actually hold it. See? Yep, that jar is completely sealed. You'll also like hear it ping. You know, you want to give the jar a look around and see, is that chicken indeed fully cooked? Check the condition of your jars to make sure it hasn't cracked. You want to make sure that there's no, bubbling or spoilage or any off smells. And if there's nothing alarming there, go ahead and sit it safely on your shelf. And then remember, when you go to grab it and use it, you want to listen again for that seal. Y'all know I love the seal sound. I do the best I can to make sure you hear my jar lids open, because that's another sign, again, that your jar was safely sealed. And here's another thing to know. A little meat above the broth line is totally normal, especially if you're someone like me who does mostly raw packing of her chicken. So remember when I first packed the jars, let me do a little closely. The jar actually looked like it was a bit more filled than this with meat. But then as this is cooking, all of that broth is coming out of the meat, which is actually then what like shrinks this meat down. But again, it is flavor. This is not a safety issue at all. I do know that some people will actually top off their jars. Maybe it's just like for the aesthetics of it. This meat above here is not dry, like at all. It's not. I mean, it doesn't matter how long it has been sitting on your shelf. But some folks I've heard will add like water to put it all the way to the top. You don't need to do that like at all. That's not what you'll find in the guidelines. And so, yeah. So I hope that helped. Well, y'all, this is the framework that I use during the summer to both cook meals from scratch and make sure that I'm staying on top of my canning. And if your follow-up question is, what do you do with all that canned chicken? It's actually, what don't I do with it? You can check out my recipe book, The Canned Chicken Kitchen, which has over 50 different recipes to use your home canned chicken in appetizers, lunches to dinners. But if you want to see all my little hacks about how I fit canning into a very busy life, I will link that video below. To get more recipe inspiration, click the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends. I'm gonna go shuck some corn.